Unsighted, everybody. It's available on Nintendo Switch, Xbox Game Pass, PC, and I think it's on PlayStation as well, but I might be wrong about that. Studio is Pixel. The developer is Studio Pixel Punk. Publisher Humble Games, and genres are an RPG action platformer. Quick description: after a long war with the humans, the few androids that remain in Arcadia are running out of anima, the energy that gives all robots consciousness. It's up to you,
Alma.
Alma, to find the way to recover your memories and save your friends from becoming unsighted. Explore the vast ruins of Arcadia using every tool you can find. Time to tick. Time is ticking. They need you, Alma.
Oh, it's
Amy,
a Metroidvania, all right.
I saw you play this.
You did. You were hanging in chat. It was great. Well, you were hanging in Discord even better.
So, general thoughts of Unsighted.
So I went into this game with like no expectations. Like I'd seen a couple of people talk about it. It was one of those indie games that flew under the radar a bit. But I'd seen a couple of people talking about it, and I think there was one review I saw, which I didn't read the review. I read the headline, which said it was the best Metroidvania in years, and that was where I was like, "Oh, I like Metroidvanias." And then I found out it was made by two trans women in Brazil, and I was like, "Interesting." And then I found out it was on Game Pass, and I was like,
Super interesting.
I'm in. Let me just add this to the old Twitch schedule.
Yeah, so right now it's rated very highly on OpenCritic.
I would imagine it is. It's a very, very good game. It's a very hard game. So, like, I'm just prefacing that right now. Like, I loved the game. I thought it was great. But my first hour or so with the game, like up until the first proper boss fight, I was having a kind of frustrating time with it because it's very difficult, and in a way that's very difficult for me. Like personally, like again, like I've always said, difficulty is subjective, right? Like I can beat Bloodborne, I can beat Dark Souls 3, but I had some trouble with this game Unsighted. But I dropped the difficulty using their Explorer mode, which lets you toggle some stuff. So like it's not just turn difficulty down button. It's like you can toggle a bunch of stuff. So I like turned a couple of things on and turned the whole thing on. So that I'm just putting that out there now, so because that's going to color what I say about the game, because it was still quite challenging in places, as Moody can attest to, even on the lower difficulty.
Very good. Yeah, to what I've seen from this game and what I saw you play, I was just like, this looks awesome. I won't lie. I love that type of art style. To 8-bit
pixely,
pixely art style. Some of the character art styles were breathtakingly beautiful.
Give me strength. I think I said a couple of times on the stream today, this is a thirsty game, and I wasn't prepared.
It was a thirsty
game. Oh my god. Oh, I fell in love a couple of times.
Only a couple
of times.
Yeah, it was. To what I've seen, it looked absolutely breathtaking, and I can understand why you enjoyed it, no doubt. But what are your thoughts on the story?
Yeah, it's a pretty good story. So, like, one of the things I did when I dropped the difficulty was I turned off time. It's a weird sentence, but it's true. So, like, it alludes to it in the description you read, but like, so in the story of the game. In the fiction of the game, automatons run on anima. Anima comes from a meteor that crashed into the planet, and then the humans came and they built a tower around the anima so that, like, the automatons would stop getting the anima, and that's what gave them consciousness. So the enemies that you see are all unsighted. They're all automatons that have run out of anima and they've lost their minds and they've gone savage, essentially, or they've gone wild, they've gone rogue. And every character that you meet in the game has a time limit. Like every character you meet says X amount of hours remaining, including you, X amount of hours remaining. And every time you transition screens, you lose an hour, basically. And there's a clock that's ticking down, right? So like there's an intensity to it if you don't do what I did, which is turn the time off, where it's like everyone is running out of time. And that isn't just part of the fiction as like a thing in the back of your mind where it's like, we got to do this because everyone is theoretically running out of time. Everyone is literally running out of time. Like if a character's time ticks down to 0, they become unsighted and they become someone you have to fight in the world. And you can delay this with special items you can find out in the world. But I obviously turned that off because it was way too stressful for me. Like when you go in, and I can see why this would make it a brilliant game. Like, but it was still a brilliant game for me. But when it was like, I like you, and I like you, and I like you, and all of you have got these time bombs, and I'm bad at this game, Moody, so I'm losing loads of time to getting lost and dying. I was like, I can't take the pressure. I can't take this pressure, and I got to turn it off. But like for that brief window where I didn't have it off, I was like, oh shit, like it's on. Like I gotta fucking fix this shit quick. So like that part of the story is great. Like the main narrative is really good. There's a really cool message throughout the game. There's like a couple of good messages because despite the game being like post-apocalyptic and you're struggling against humans, and you know there's like spoilery stuff like you saw in later on in the game where it's like some of the stuff that the humans did. And like it can't like it would have been so easy to be a downbeat game, but instead, like it's a hopeful game. Like the messages that the game is essentially about hope, or about having hope. The last words of the final boss, like, are about building a world with love, and like I just found that really beautiful and really touching. And like that is sort of like a theme that's woven throughout the game. And I think we need more games with that kind of message, to be honest.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like, I think as many times like shows, TV shows, or films and games that I've just rewatched or replayed many, many times, just because their stories are all about hope or rising up and like helping and all like that, and that's what you want to see. And
yeah,
we don't see a lot of that these days. There's no doubt, and yeah, we definitely need that. Like the story, for what I saw, was just like it was very touching. It was very heartfelt.
It was,
and I really enjoyed what I saw.
It had great writing. Like the characters were so well written, so it was easy to get invested in the fiction of the world. Like you saw me running around at one point looking for this one character because I was like, "Where are they?" They said they were going to come back. Where are they? And then it turns out it was a thing you found out about later. But like, I was that invested in like a minor character who you talked to like twice because I was just like, I have to make sure you're okay, you know. And it's just like you've got Iris, the little fairy robot that follows you around, and you've got Big Axe Mommy, who you barely see in the game, but I was obsessed with because she was a big buff lady and she had a big axe. But also a really cool character arc. But also she was a big buff lady with a giant axe.
Yeah,
she can step on me anytime she wants.
I don't think you can ask for much more for that.
No, the bosses, Moody. They were so. I mean, apart from the Gundam with the sword.
I think that's the perfect transition into gameplay itself. So, what's the gameplay like?
Yeah, so it's a Metroidvania. So it's predicated on the fact that there's this big world. It's split into a number of regions. I can't remember how many. And there's like different levels. So you've got the surface.
4.
Yeah, well, there was 5. You were trying to find 5 meteor shards, so I think it was 5. But there was also like there's also like different levels. So there's like the surface. There's the above air. I can't remember what it was called, and then there's underground as well. So you transition between the 3. And what you're doing is you're going to do a thing, and then you get a power-up or a special ability that you can then use to explore a little bit more of the world, and then you get another thing, and you explore a little bit more, and it's the standard Metroidvania type thing.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's fun to explore the map. Like, they connect the maps up in interesting ways. Like, there's different biomes, we'll call them, like different sections, but like they all interconnect and intertwine. There's like a way into one map from like everywhere else, basically.
Yeah.
Like that you can find, which I thought was really interesting. And like that comes into play when you're exploring. Like I was exploring one level with you when you were in chat, when you were in Discord, and like it connected. You had the map itself, the map that you were trying to get to the end of to get to the meteor shard and the boss fight, but like you had to keep coming out of it to go do other stuff, like to come out of it and do more stuff to find a different entrance back into it and then find your way back around again. And I thought that was really interesting. And I think the abilities and stuff that you unlock to explore the map, I thought those were really cool as well. Like you saw how much fun I was having with the double hook shot when I got the double hook shot, and it's not a spoiler that
Yeah.
you get that because it's in the trailer. And I was having so much fun exploring around with it, and like you can experiment with it in terms of the gameplay, where it's like, I figured out if I just hook some enemies while I'm hanging over a chasm.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Yeah, the gameplay did look like it was fluid and moved really nice. The combat was
Yeah,
looked
it
like it was
was. Yeah,
very intuitive. The only time, like I said to you when you were playing it, I was like, I don't understand how you're controlling what's going on in these boss fights and everything. Like you struggled yourself
yeah. So
when
I
you were
was.
talking about it. But I was like, when I said, it's like I've said on many occasions I have slow hand-eye coordination. And
Yeah,
I was just thinking I will not be able to do these fights whatsoever. So I'm just glad I was able to experience this game for a short while because obviously I didn't see you start it
yeah.
in that type of vein. And I'm just happy I was able to experience and all that. I also got the feeling of gameplay, but also the story through
Yeah,
me just watching it with you,
that's
which was
cool.
really
That's
good.
cool. Like, to segue really, really briefly, like one of the cool things about the stuff we're doing on Twitch is like getting to hang out with you while I'm playing these games. I think it's really good. I think I'm really enjoying that. But back to the game, the combat is really fluid. It's very heavily based weighted on a parry mechanic. So you could dodge obviously in the game, but like there's also like a button where it's like an enemy flashes red, and you time and you in like you could get through the game without doing this, but you can time a block. So you push B and you can time it, ping, and you do a perfect block, and that stuns an enemy. Sometimes you have to do it twice, boom boom, on bigger enemies. And then when you do a counter attack, you do massive amounts of damage. You don't have to do that. Like I got through an entire boss fight earlier in the game without parrying because my parry timing sucked on that boss. So I just learned to dodge, and it took longer, but I managed it. And that's cool. Like the combat flows really, really well, and some of the items you can unlock will help you in combat. Like the hook shot's really useful in combat as well as like for exploring. You unlock a bunch of different. You can buy and unlock and craft a bunch of different weapons that have like different stats and abilities, and eventually like have different elements attached to them which enemies are weak to. And you can like activate cogs to give you temporary buffs to like defense and attack and stamina and stuff like that, as well as like equipping chips to like give you permanent boosts to like health and whatnot. Excuse me, but yeah, the issues I was having was like you say you have poor hand-eye coordination. My thing is like can get overwhelmed when like my senses can get overwhelmed when too many things are happening on the screen at once, and like there was effects on the screen at the same time as I was trying to do boss fights, which really saw like I was having real trouble sort of parsing what was happening. But the thing that saved me was I have good reactions. So like if I do see what's coming, I can generally react pretty quickly to it. So like that's what kind of carried me through, especially in the later boss fights, which were fucking wild. Like they were wild, man. And yeah, it's like that carried me through, and it's a very specific problem to have. Like a lot of people probably don't even think about it, but it's like, yeah, like the first boss I fought, it was moving around a lot. It was summoning additional enemies. It was firing particles, and I had to watch out for it coming so I could parry it. But then on top of all of that, there was like this rain effect happening across the entire screen, and I like throwing all of that together plus the rain effect meant I was essentially going blind at certain points of the game when too many things were happening, and I couldn't keep track of it, which is where I lowered the difficulty. So at least even if I was making mistakes and getting hit, it wasn't ending my entire run straight right there. But the combat is still really good, and it is still really fluid. It flows really nicely.
That's really good. That's what we want to see in a gameplay. So, world.
It's pretty good. It's the all the different biomes are really cool. They're really interesting. They look amazing, like in this pixel art style that they've got going on, and like again, like exploring the world is fun. It's a great like the world has to be fun to explore, like in a Metroidvania. Like otherwise, it just falls apart. Like one of the things I always said about Bloodborne, which is I know it isn't a Metroidvania, but is like one of the reasons I love that game so much is because I enjoyed exploring the world. Like seeing, just going in every direction. And in Unsighted, I did as well. Like, I enjoyed going in different directions, like seeing the path ahead of me and going, that's where I need to go. But there's also this path over here, so I'm gonna go down there first and see what's up over here. And you find cool things, and it looks really nice. It's very colorful.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful 8-bit, 16-bit retro style. I would like to say I really like that style, so it works really well.
Yeah, and the developers have put a lot of thought into making memorable locations, right? It's like the different places you go. You go to like a massive aquarium is one of the dungeons, and another dungeon is like a university, and another dungeon is like a library. It's all post-apocalyptic, like post-humanity. And like it's not just like the lava level and the ice level. Like those levels exist, like because the main elements of these levels are like ice and fire, but a lot of like creativity has gone into making them cool places as well as just being like themed around specific elements.
Yeah, which is really kind of like I said, they balance it out really well, which is really good. Music, sound.
The music was great. It was a bop. Like I was really enjoying digging it. It's like a nice, like Phil turned up to the stream last Friday and he was saying like he dug the lo-fi vibes, right? And that's what it was. It was like a nice lo-fi soundtrack. It really accompanied the gameplay really well. Like when you're generally exploring, like in the overworld and stuff, you are kind of like in this sort of mellow headspace, right? Of just like wandering around trying to find stuff, and then like maybe you get into a big fight, and then the music would still be like lo-fi hip hoppy, but still not like like a Final Fantasy battle theme all of a sudden. Like, and it just fit the vibe of the game really well. And then you heard the music for the last boss.
I did, yeah. It was really weird.
That was really strange, but it fit really well.
Yeah.
So like I think at all times the soundtrack, which is one of the highest praises I can give a soundtrack for a video game, is like at all times the soundtrack fit what was happening on the screen.
Yeah.
Like
no doubt,
the music never took me out of the experience at any point.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say. No doubt about it. It really worked, and that's what you need. You need the right balance for it, and going for a unique, different one, I think helps it, and it's one of its strengths.
Yeah.
Or the part what no one wants to talk about, but what didn't work, Amy?
So like the level of difficulty didn't work for me. But again, there's great robust difficulty options. In the game, so that's not just like turn difficulty down button. It's like, okay, so you turn it on explore. It's called explorer mode, and like there's you can be invincible. Like they've just taken that idea straight from Celeste, where it's like if you want to just be invincible, you can just be invincible. You can have extra stamina. You can make the combat slightly easier. You can turn off the timers on all the characters if you don't want the stress of like maybe they might die if you don't hurry the fuck up. But like, it's cool that all that stuff's there. But yeah, it was a bit rough for the first sort of hour or so, where I was getting really frustrated. Like I was getting stuck on like just normal enemies. So like that was almost a deal breaker for me until I sort of sorted that out. Other than that, nothing really didn't work for me. Like I think the length was just about right for the game. And anything else I haven't talked about was fine. Like, I just think going in, it was like a rough entry going in.
Yeah, finding that right balance for difficulty can be really difficult. Pardon the pun there. But knowing that they have that accessibility options, I guess it's fair to say that they can make you invincible and you can just go out and enjoy the game and not have to worry about getting completely murdered all the time or anything like that. Like, that's obviously a great option to have. Like I fell in love with Celeste because I was able to do that.
Yeah, it's like I found the fun, right?
Yeah. And now that I know that's in there, I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm gonna add this to my list to play. Hopefully play this sometime this year.
Oh nice.
There's only 10 weeks left. Hopefully it'll probably be the Christmas time. Smash it during the Christmas period or something like that.
Go for it. Like, and if you find it in the game really frustrating, yeah, you can like just be invincible.
Yeah, yeah, and not have to worry about it like that. Just playing a chill game, not a chill. Let me rephrase this: a game that is great, but you can play it chill, and that's
Yeah,
always, I think, is always a good option to have. Like we've championed for many podcasts now of accessibility. Like an easy mode is not a hurt on the game. It allows people to be more accessible for to play the game. You know,
I agree.
and everything like that.
I
So
agree.
I'm really happy about that. It's great to hear that, and it's on Game Pass as well,
It's
ladies and
on
gentlemen.
Game
So
Pass.
check it out. Uh, Final thoughts, Amy.
Um, it's a good game. It's a really, really good game. It surprised me mostly because I had never heard of it before I played it, before I like basically played it.
Yeah.
So it came out of nowhere for me, which is very rare for a game to do these days. But yeah, it's a really, really canny game, as Moody would say. And I really liked it a lot. It's got cool characters who you like. It can be like stressful, like oh no, like you can really feel those like apocalyptic odds that are stacked against you in the gameplay as well as just being told it in the story, which is cool. But you also don't have to have that, which is nice if that's not what you really want out of the game. It's just a really well put together Metroidvania, and I think you'll probably be hearing me talk about it in January.
Ooh. Foreshadowing, are you, Amy?
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing indeed. Very nice, very juicy.